Okay, so I'm back having a look at our render, and I'm looking at draw curve gradient. No, I'm not. I'm looking at render gradient. This should be higher up. It should be under render OGL. In fact, I'm going to put it there. Excuse me. Render gradient. High equals project high threshold. T high equals 00 AI. Array index, yeah. Temp height. What's that for again? Can't remember. Array index. So this point is, yeah, yeah. I split this up just so that I am not making a decision inside of this loop, which may go round a couple of million times. But anyway, the main thing is, it comes out of that. And yeah, it should. Trying to figure out what on earth. Sorry, I'm just thinking. I'm trying to figure out what on earth I'm using T high for. And why I'm not. Right, okay, yeah, it's because I need to measure the actual height. It's for the high point, and high might not change during this process. It's only at the end. If project threshold equals -1, T high equals T high. Right, okay, I've got a problem here. I'm not changing. Oh yeah, I am. The only reason I go near high here and here is to scale them. Right. If project high threshold equals -1. Yeah, high equals T high. I'm having a problem seeing why this is a problem. G step 1 divided by float high minus project low threshold. I think, well, hang on a sec. Well, another problem is that the low threshold thing doesn't seem to work. It's annoying because I've basically never used low threshold except once and seen that it didn't work. And I feel like I may never use low threshold. But this to I have to limit it. I have to low limit it. To 0. This is another like limit command in here which is horrible, and it's for every single, every pixel. That's the problem with the low threshold thing though, is that some of them are blatantly dropping below 0, and so therefore looping back up. So this has to be I did have a limit low, oh yeah, float, and I assume it's 0. Limit low that, and I will check. Limit low is 0. Well, that'll fix that bit of it, but I'm going to have to just run this again. I'm going to have to test that high threshold -1. If data AI is greater than t high equals data AI. Yeah. And it records the high point. Now hang on a second. I don't need to record t high if I'm saying C current high point equals data AI, am I? Do I? I could just use, maybe I won't, but average height plus equals, yeah. Okay, well, I don't see why this doesn't work. T high starts at 0. Some of the data is found to be bigger than 0. Array index, yeah. Okay, well, and I'm going to be bold, and I'm just going to compile it release. Apart from anything, I can't get any useful. I don't know how to get any useful debug info out of it anyway. And if to get debug info out of it, I'll end up writing to a file at some point if it starts making serious problems for me. It worked. I will pop it over and let's have another look. And I'm going to, I suppose I'll save the content to the last project. It didn't really work. There's one thing to improve the look of things is if I can get this at least dynamic high threshold aspect working. Still kind of cool in a way, but let me see. Actually, you know what, I'll save this and I'll save it as boom 2, I think. Did I? It doesn't matter. Okay, so let me look at this gradient and let me just say, actually I only want one thing. I'll have that. I'll have that. And I will have red. Now, I set this to -1. Now, I wonder if I should have said less than 0. Like, that might have been wiser. Anyway, let's just give this a little, and yeah, I will, actually for now I'll have the scale style none, And what on earth am I on? I'm on 11 recursions. I think I'm going to come down to 10. And also I'm going to go straight back to 1920 by, oops, this is a bit downside of my buttons. And also I'm going to save this as a render tester. And I'm going to render it. This is still, I see, I'd forgotten about those guys. That's better. Okay. So I'll boost it. Okay, that's interesting. Don't know why that, I think it's because I don't know why that is. Oops, didn't mean to do that. That's a problem with those bloody close buttons. I hope it's going to come back just as it was. Well, I see why this has occurred. It's because I did that. So it wasn't a mistake, thankfully. Or it was a mistake on my part. Right. So it drew. And yes, high threshold -1, top pixel 1332. So, average pixel 99. So let's have another thing, which is to open these little bad boys and give this just a few like that and see what on earth it comes up with. I have a feeling this should render okay now. It didn't. Look at that. So everything that was below 0 got blasted to the top of the gradient. Well, well. Okay, well, let's put that back down to 0. And let's render again. And have a look. And I'm going to save that as test.png. Am I? Yes. Now I want to change to exponential. Absolutely nothing. Right. Interesting. Okay, but now if I say high equals like 2000, or what was it? I don't know, 1500 say, with exponential, render still. It's back. Right. So, something about the exponential I'm going to absolutely check that. Back to none, and then back to -1. Obviously I'm missing some obvious thing about how these sums work. And then just image viewer, yeah. So -1 works, as long as I'm doing no scaling. Oh. Well, I should have tried linear scaling as well, that was stupid. What's the problem with scaling? I scale everything. And when everything else is scaled, maybe that doesn't make sense. Well, I don't know, yeah. I take the highest height down, yeah, but everything is, isn't it? Oh, well, there's that. Scale value SS plus 0.5. Oh. Well, don't... Right. do not think that is the thing that's making the difference. It doesn't make the difference when it's rendering normally. Or when it's rendering with a set high threshold. Yeah, when it's not... No. It's like it's always, high is always scaled. I'm going to end up having to write some of this down, haven't I? And that frustrates me. I don't think I can. I think I'll probably have to end up drawing it, in fact, which also frustrates me. But like, let's say high was 1,000. High threshold is 1,000. And the render occurs and it finds that the temp high reading is 2,000. It's doing thingamajig scaling, exponential scaling, which scales the high threshold to, say, 1,000 to the power 0.9 brings it to 501. Yeah. And actually I was at less than that, wasn't I? I was at bloody... was I? Can't remember. Let's say I was at 1,000 power 0.7. Yeah, wow, it's like, it has a massive effect on those high numbers. Of course, yeah, like, I shouldn't be surprised that that's the curve. I should plot it, in fact. Let me think. But anyway, but in a way, if it was 0.9 it was 500. 2,000 to the power of 0.9 is 935. But in this case, this is set to 935. But yeah, in the case that... so this works. But in this case, it just doesn't. Even when low threshold is 0. Limit low, if number is less than low, return low. Does that even work? Oh, I'm getting distracted by that bit. But in the case of high threshold equaling -1, high equals T high equals 935. Why is that a problem? Why isn't it? Like, if I do a render, if I do a render Oh man, I'm going round in circles a bit here. It's 20 minutes. If I do a render with the threshold set at a static value, and then I read the highest point, then I do another render with it set at a static value of the highest point, as far as I'm aware, I should be getting exactly the same thing. Finished running app. Oh god, sorry. Should I shift it across? Did I do anything there at all? I didn't. Right, I'm just going to run this again. Okay, first off, render this. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Scale style 1 this time. Scale style none, I meant. Did I say that? Anyway. Okay, well nothing, but that's what I was expecting. I thought it worked on scale style none. Am I just totally imagining it? No, there it is. Suspicious. What happens if I just go render that again? Well, anyway. So top pixel height 1332 before scaling. It's fine. 1332. What is the difference between what I just did now? And what happens out of curiosity if I now do this? It's like that's I realise that this is maybe like even 0.95. Don't know. Shit, shouldn't have done that. Well, I suppose it's pretty quick renders. I should have saved a test image. Yeah, not much. Look at that. Look at this strange kind of. I'm gonna boost that a bit. 0.8 again. I suppose it's, well, 1332. I don't think I can do very much about this, I must admit. About the graininess, without just basically upping the recursions. What? Yeah, yeah. I'm going to try and render it with 11 recursions in a second. It can offer a bit slightly better kind of color balance, but it doesn't really help the graininess. If there are areas which look sort of, I don't know. Anyway, it's there if I want it. But what is the other thing? The other problem is, yeah, that actually when I go to -1, it still just doesn't work. And I have no idea why. What is it that it's doing differently? Oh. Well, that's not right anyway. At least it doesn't look right, that does it? So first off, I'll do that and hope that maybe that will solve the problem. Ah, yeah, because it's being set to -1. Under those circumstances, that's what's happening to it. So that should solve that problem anyway. All it really does is make it easier to get those kind of exponential renders using the threshold at the top of the... But yeah, it really does flatten it. That's interesting. Maybe that's a bad example. I feel kind of confident that that is what is going to make it work. So much so that let's just fire in and do a render. There it is. Okay, good. But the thing is that I now, of course, am thinking that maybe that really isn't the sort of render that's... I want this thing round on its side, not up on its end like that. Let's see what I can get without spending too much time just fussing around. Okay. Right, first I want to do a 1000, or say, yeah, 1000. With no scaling. Okay. And let me have a little look. Top picks 156. So it's low at 10 recursions. Man, I think I'm going to have to boost those recursions a bit. 11 just seems steep all the time. It's like, is this too long a wait? Don't suppose it's too bad. Okay. Still highest point 471. So that's not the kind of image I'm looking for. I know the kind of thing I'm looking for. I don't like the angles of any of these things. I'd actually like to render loads of these shapes, mind you. Okay, I don't believe that worked. Nope. Have another go. Now, I'm aiming for something that has high peaks but is generally low. Like that. 10,000, an average of 10. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Let me think. So, yeah, what am I doing? I'm saving. My dog barked and distracted me. So there's test. And now I want to try -1 with no scaling. And if I'm right, this will, yeah, make everything very, very dark. I'll save that as test 2. And just for larks, I will, yeah, now I will put on the exponential scaling at that. And it hardly did anything. Great. I wonder if that is too, well, at -1 I really expected a much bigger difference. Let me have a look at test 2. No, it's, again, it's There's a difference, but it is slight. If anything, my gosh. Yeah, come back to 1 to 1 and 1 to 1. Ah, yeah, it's minute difference. Okay, well, interesting. I really thought that would bring it in much more. Now again, the top pixel and average pixel, see that top pixel of 10,262 to the power 0.9, was it? Down to 4,000. And 10 to the power 0.9 down to 9. So there's a much, much bigger difference in the top. But am I doing the right thing? Because maybe I'm just not. Let me just try. Maybe I am missing a scaling. Maybe like the. Not sure. No, it can bring it out a bit, but now it's going to be seriously losing color, like a number of layers of colors. I wish I could just quickly. I should be showing the values after scaling as well, just to save me getting the calculator out. And do 10,000 to the power 1600. Yeah, well, I suppose when it's that much of a difference, like what if I just push it further? Gonna just keep going. Well, it is kind of working. What I'm anticipating though is that it's still going to be, well, I'm going to keep going. Like now down about 0.5 is where the banding starts to become super, super visible. But, you know, if the... What am I trying to say? It's like if the detail is there, like that I don't know, I should just keep on going. But this brings up another point, which is that now that this actual high -1 scale style thing is working, apparently, yeah, that is really starting. Like, look, you can see that there just aren't enough colors, or what? No, there just aren't enough. Still not enough variations. Man, it's actually. I'm pretty pleased in a way with that though, because it is having the desired effect. There still aren't enough variations, and as always, the only thing you can do is up the recursions. But man, and that's really having to push it for this pattern to bring out the. I wish there was some way I could, like, I don't know. Now, that did not work, I can tell. Now, it's like I'm imagining these parts are going to be more intense. Like, I've just pushed it a little bit, but then yeah, that's really, really interesting. And Now, of course, what I want to do is I just can't wait for 12 recursions, can I? I know, friend. But I have a feeling that if I go to something quite slow about finalizing a file or something, I don't know. Like it needs a moment for the file that is going to be created. Nah, I don't know. Nah, that's not. It's not to do with my quickness because the file's created like after I click that button. Was that really 12 recursions? And what I expect for the 12 recursions, yeah, is added color detail at those lower levels. But because it's set to -1, it's not like brightening, but also, yeah, there is only, I think, still that tiny point, these tiny points of the brightest color. Well, now, I'm pleased. I'm pleased that it's had that much of a difference. And just out of curiosity, I'm going to go to linear 0.5 and just see if it does anything to. Because I remember thinking with other renders, the linear scaling made very little difference. Yeah, and here basically none. I wasn't expecting. What was the other test? Was it test 2? 1-to-1. Look! Oops, I did that wrong. Open latest. Load image. Test 2. 1-to-1, 1-to-1. Yeah. So I would definitely say that the linear scaling does nothing. But with this, just scrubbing the timeline here to somewhere like there and doing exactly the same render. Yeah, I know you tried your best there, but you didn't do it. I wonder if I should make the program just pause for 1/10 of a second or something after creating that file. This exponential value, I think, is something that is going to be suitable for some. You see, this is a problem. This is why I really to make this program much more useful, I need the data bank sort of manipulator. I should be able to bring up a gradient editor, a gradient render editor, which allows me to tweak these values on a data bank that the gradients provided. Yeah. I really think that I'm onto something here. 12 recursions. And you know what I'm going to do? For one of the very rare times. I wish. Always seems to catch it the second time. I'm going to have to render an animation like this. It's a very interesting thing to be able to get that range of, like, I didn't change that value, but doing enough recursions, even a kind of diffuse thing like this, and I bet it'll have a load of color detail now. There's nowhere else for the colors to come from, and there's the same range of colors. I don't know. I find it is really hard to imagine all the, I don't know how to put it. Bits of cause and effect of the various numbers involved. Okay. Well, it's got a bit more color detail, but still, it's still a harsh, Way down here it still starts to break up. It's still a harsh exponent, 0.4 or whatever. I wonder what happens here, and I can't. I didn't get enough extra for 13. So out here, when I go to 0. Well, go to 0.5. I should really make these things round. No, come on, you're just getting it only every second time now. And I wonder why that is. Oh, anyway, I'm really just playing with it, and I'm pleased that I've solved that little problem with this. I'm still going to have to go and solve the problem with the low. I'll test it again just now and just make sure that, yeah, it's still definitely happening. I also oh, there it goes. Does it? No, it doesn't. I just hid it behind there. Get the message here. I'm going to come off, yeah. I remind myself I didn't even look properly there. I'll maybe render this as an animation, will I? No, I will render something more interesting as an animation, but... So... Yeah, in this instance, I did a whole fewer recursion there, but by doing less, one recursion fewer, but by using a lower value, or a high value as exponent, kind of was able to compensate. And that looks a lot better actually. So what I'm getting at is there's a relationship between top pixel height, average pixel height, exponent, and the thresholds. Like the thresholds to be set to the top pixel height and 0, I guess, because I always do want to access the bottom of the... I mean, I'm going to figure that problem out so it doesn't happen, but I can't see myself ever setting the low threshold. In fact, if I wanted to save myself the trouble of, it's an option I feel I could take out. But anyway, there's a relationship between the top pixel height, the average pixel height, the number of recursions, oops, and the exponent that I need to think about, because over the course of rendering a frame, an animation, this frame looks pretty good at 12 recursions high of the highest and 0.5. If I go back to one of... Oh, this is just linear, I forgot. I'm going to make it loop. That just didn't work. It really didn't work. Why did that not work? Okay, well, look, that was a little bit strange, and I'm going to have to look at it. But so, what was at one end? Something like this, kinda. And up here was something like this. So using that same... I just don't believe you. It's getting more unreliable as time goes on. Using this, which was appropriate at the other end, I don't think I'm going to see any of, or very much. Or what'll I see? Well, we'll see. Actually, the more I play with this... Yeah, so that... And it's going to take a while to test it, but what if I force it back down? Maybe there's actually not that much to see here. And I shouldn't expect too much. I would expect a fair bit of detail in these parts though. I'm going from 5 recursions to 12. Yeah. God damn, I wish I'd saved the other one. But no, to me, I can see a huge difference. I wish I had saved the other one so much that now I am going to repeat it. This is test. Yeah, I do. And this is the one that has 0.4 basically. 12 recursions, exponential scale 0.4. Stick it up to 0.5. And yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, a lot more color given over to those lower values. And I wonder if I could push this further. Again, pushing it further means... yeah, you kidder. Pushing it further means really demanding more recursions in order to get detail. It seems, that's the way it seems. But I wonder if I could make it a code. The high, if you make the high a negative number, it subtracts it from the top of whatever the top pixel is. And load test again. Oops, open latest, I mean, go back here. Ah, you saw that change. Yeah. And again, just more handed over to it. I would imagine I'll see quickly. Yeah, in a high detail thing like this, I don't suppose it matters too much. And I think what I'm saying about the negative number is I really would love the way it just starts to emerge. Dare I do another recursion? What am I saying? Yeah, if the negative high, so if you set the high, then if you set it to a positive number, then you know you're setting the value beyond which all things take on the color at the top of the gradient. But if you set it to a negative value, it'll subtract that number from the highest pixel found and make that the top of the gradient. Just so that it's because it can be good to set the high to a static because it makes a plateau. But without setting it static at the moment, you can't create the plateau. You end up with a point somewhere, up here somewhere in this case. Let's... I didn't save the other one. But again, it's just kind of done that thing of adding more color depths. Although still, you go deep enough. Because if I did that thing with a negative number, it would allow you to create a variable plateau, which was still based on where the top of the actual image was, but you were chopping off an amount you wanted, not chopping off an unknown amount from the top of the image, saying I want the top, you know, whatever, 50 overlaps cut off. The other thing really, I suppose, that would massively improve it is for me to take into consideration the thickness of the line and yeah, to use floating point numbers to represent the individual pixels. Not to mention the thing about the data buffer. So I will have a little think about these things because I don't have to call it a day on this project. It's been fun. I could call it a day, or I could just decide to go a little bit further. It's pretty cool. I'm pleased this works. Not pleased this doesn't work, but on the other hand, I think what happens if I set it something like 50? Don't bother giving me this number for that. Well, I believe it'll be faster, but that's pretty bad. If it's going to take like several attempts every time, that's pretty bad, and I'll have to find out why. 0, yeah, okay. Let's just completely screw with it. And actually bring me back there and show me this. Average pixel height 8, wow, okay, so you know, a lot would have 14,000 would not, would it have come down below 50? Maybe it would have done. 14,000. Oh, my calculator. 14, 1, 2, 3. Okay, well, what was it? 14,321 to the power of 0.299999 or whatever it was. Yeah, brought down below 50. So actually, it's done it right. It did do that right. Ah, oh man, that's so crazy though. So you really have to push the recursions up. Okay, well what about 5? And maybe not quite so harsh, 0.5. Right. Yeah. Not scaling the bottom, that's one of the big problems. But that's not always been the problem. Although having said that, since I built in the... Oh, that probably is the problem. Let me have a quick look. Yeah, I bet I'm set low and scale it. Yeah. But I'm not going to do it just now. I've done a lot of playing with it. I'm very pleased with some things about the way that's working now. I will have to have a think about doing the thing about allowing you to set a negative high threshold. I'm going to do a tiny bit of toying with the low threshold, but it is a thing that may just disappear as a slightly unnecessary option. So I'll do the thing about being able to chop off, you know, an arbitrary amount at the top. Or not, yeah, arbitrary but set, you know, as opposed to an unknown amount at the top by setting the high threshold. And also I have to have a think about what sort of ranges tend to look good, and see if I can figure out maybe even some splines that would describe I'll have to think about it. Basically, a way of automatically selecting, so that there was another scale style which was like dynamic exponential or something, where every frame it looked at the top pixel, it looked at the average pixels, and it made top pixel, the average pixels, and also the high threshold, like these sets of information. and tried to say, well, if you want a plateau of this sort of size for a good number of colours across the range, I'll set an exponential scaling value of such and such. Sounds really long-winded, that's just because I'm kind of thinking it through as I'm saying it. That little bit I think would be worth adding. The other larger thing is really everything I've been doing just now could have been done super fast and with a much better ability, giving me a much more sort of chances to compare and contrast different options just by looking at them right one on top of the other, just fast, if I had a thing about just manipulating the data bank after the fact. So I have to seriously think about that. But some of the simpler things I'm speaking about I will do next time.